All right, we're back. We are back, and I don't know what break mode is, but that's fine. Yeah, very good, very good. So, we're back, and I don't know what happened in OBS there, but I'm able to get my game back up and running. So let's pop back onto my console. There we go. Ho ho. All right, back to the game. Now, let's see.
And that's going to be a turnover for 8 seconds.
Yep. That's what happens when it crashes on me, I guess. That's okay. Come on, come on.
Outside Williams.
Come on, come on. You gonna try to run in? What you doing? What you doing?
A kick out to McBride.
All right.
And it's off.
There we go.
No good. Well, through 3/4 of play, down double digits. It may be difficult to overcome. Fever ahead, up by 16. And coming up as soon as we return from the break,
I want to see if I can break 100 points this game. Yeah.
The candidate tonight as we take a look at our State Farm assist of the game.
Well, this is what being on the...
Let me guess. It's a pass to Clark. Let's see. Boom. Oh, no, it wasn't. All right.
Heads-up play all around.
And how can you not be a fan of a sequence like that? This is what beautiful basketball is all about.
All right, let's see what we got.
Just wonderful stuff.
And we're rolling here again with the fourth quarter. Might not come down to the wire, but you never know. Williams can't get it to go.
Well, for what's a routine shot, she looked a little nervous on that release, wouldn't you say?
And the shot by Clark, no good. Carlton on the wing. They grab their own miss.
All right, so whatever it is, something has happened that Clark isn't as ridiculous this late in the game. I don't know if it's just I was in a bad position or what.
Covered by Smith.
There we go. Good.
And Clark gets the three.
But we got it now.
Sometimes she can score more points by herself than the rest of the team combined.
Yep, that's probably what's going to happen on this one. Oh, come on, man. Oh, she got it. All right.
Mr. Basket for a fifth happy pairing of the game. She's 5 for 9. To the inside. Clark, she's guarded by Williams. Offensive rebound.
Pass it back to, pass it over to Clark. Come on.
Fires from deep.
I want to see how many points I can get Caitlin Clark to score this game.
She's just not wasting any chances, any shots she's had.
And if they want to make things even easier on themselves here late in the ball game, I got it.
Oh, stuffed. Stuffed. Pass it to Clark. And up. It's good.
It's been a humongous fourth quarter for her, especially from long range. She's in a group.
Oh.
Has been deadly.
Minnesota calls a timeout. And the 2023 Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston, is a treat to watch.
Oh, yeah, she's a lot of fun. Personally, I love her passing, ability to run offense through the post. Boston is such an unselfish player, team first.
Come on.
Traits that we don't normally associate with first overall picks like her.
Game
what you doing?
Along, 2 minutes gone here in the fourth.
Boy,
nice.
I settle for having as many points in a game as she has rebounds.
Right now, we're really witnessing something special.
She's good on the 3 ball.
Man, this fourth quarter has been tremendous, really, for them from three-point range.
Yeah, a ton of their points coming from long range here. What a barrage.
And what a time to hit the threes.
Here's Carlton. Yes, and it's Courtney Williams with the assist that time.
She draws so much attention. Williams can find others for easy buckets. Good dish.
Clark, she's guarded by Williams.
I was going to say, that's so ridiculous.
Out to Mitchell. Takes the three.
Oh, no. That's fine.
You can tell she thought that triple was going to fall.
She's just shaking her head after that miss. That's a shot she's got to hit. You don't get too many better looks from that range.
Wasted no time on that one.
What are they thinking, leaving her with all that space out there? Don't they know that that's pretty much a layup for her?
Pass to Carlton. Tries it from the top of the key. Again, Minnesota.
Very clever passing. She put that ball on a silver platter for her.
Clark outside. From outside the arc. The three-pointer is on target.
It has been a three-point barrage for them since halftime.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been by design or by accident.
Nope. Oh, shoot. I switched. That's all right. That's all right. Oh, that wasn't my plan, but.
Just put a number 3 out there.
Boston.
Oh.
Started by Howard.
No good. No good. Hustle, hustle. Get down there. There we go.
Pass to Clark. From.
Oh. I can't even believe that was even remotely close. Like, that had no business going anywhere near the hoop. Oh, yeah, you got your points. All right. Packs them up.
Anyways, she can work for a better shot than that.
Cunningham. Carlton defending.
Oh, that was
Back to Cunningham. Clark.
good.
The basket good off the assist from Sophie Cunningham.
That type of D, it's just not going to cut it. They got to get a hand in her face. Too good of a shooter.
Here's McBride. Good work defensively by Natasha Howard. And it's the Fever ball. Outside Cunningham. Clark with the
Good.
shot. And another three for Indiana.
They've got to be careful not to give a shooter of her caliber open looks like that, because one or two of those are all it takes to really get her going.
Cut back. Here we go.
Carlton gets the bucket.
The rapid-fire threes coming from everywhere.
I wasn't sure they should try to get the three right back like that, but hey, it worked out for them.
Pass to Clark. Shoots the three. And the Fever hit again from deep.
And they're not finished yet. They're going to make sure about this win.
Yeah, they're not taking any chances. This is how you close a game out.
Just look how happy their coach is.
Carlton gets the bucket.
Don't underestimate Collier's ability as a distributor. She'll make passes that make you say, wow.
Back to Clark. Shoots over Williams. And again, it's Caitlin Clark.
Easy little jump shot for her there, guys.
Outside Williams.
Okay, hold on. All right. I must be running into an OBS issue right now. So I don't know what's going on here, but that's twice. I'm going to pause it and we'll figure it out later on. But I got a little bit of gameplay in tonight. So I'm going to pull some clips from this because Caitlin Clark is ridiculous in this game. But that stinks though. I got cut off mid-game. I got to find out what, like, I don't know, do I have something else running that's grinding up my resources or what? I'm not sure. I'll have to figure out. It's just OBS, but I must have something going on right now that's causing it to get blocked up. So I'll have to take a break tonight. Actually, I'll hang around for a bit. Take a look and see what else is going on. Anything going on in the gaming news tonight? I wasn't expecting to be discussing this, but let's see here. Fallout 76 released patch notes, GameStop issues statement on infinite money glitch. Oh, there's another infinite money glitch. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, hold up. Okay, so apparently, let's see, this is on GameRant.com. GameStop issues a statement on an infinite money glitch and puts a stop to it. So GameStop's just issued an official statement that there's a glitch that was first spotted by YouTuber RJC Media earlier this month. The infinite money glitch saw RJC Media trading in a Nintendo Switch 2 and using a pre-owned promotion to earn a profit in GameStop store credit. All right, so RJC Media's channel dates back to May 2022 with the creator's first videos following his attempt to earn money via DoorDash. All right, so what was our stores are not designed to function as infinite money printers. All right, let's see. Hold up. The sound isn't coming through, so I got to figure this out. Hold on a second, because I would like to catch this figure out what it is he's doing and see what's happening here. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Oh, stop. All right. And we want to, let's set the window that we want to watch to this one. And boom, there we go. All right. And let's bring the video up. Boom. And we'll go back to the beginning. All right. Let's see what he has to say about this. And make sure the sound's coming through okay.
Gotta switch to used here.
All right.
Just bought it for $415. I've got a pre-owned game here, and I'm gonna try trading it in. We're gonna see what happens. Okay, moment of truth. It's traded in, and it's in the system right now. 385. Now what happens when I buy a game with it? Oh my god, it works. Oh my god, it works.
So, okay. So he paid $415 for it, and the amount he got back is $445?
It is over. Infinite money glitch, people. You buy a Switch 2, you can trade it for more than you paid for it. Wow.
All right. Get a 25% trade-in bonus toward any pre-owned system. Okay. And so, all right. So now I suspect that if somebody does this a bunch of times, it's gonna there's probably something that they're violating. But that's hilarious. That's awesome. But apparently it was enough of an issue that GameStop had to issue a statement on it. And so it's good to see that they've gotten that fixed. Let me pop this up here a little bit. One country is already threatening to ban GTA 6. We'll take a look at that. I didn't know about that. Let's see. Oh, apparently there's a League of Legends MMO in the work. That's pretty cool. We'll take a look at that. World of Warcraft producers officially joined Riot Games, where League of Legends MMO is in the works. And so there's a highly anticipated MMO that was announced back in 2020 after former World of Warcraft producer Raymond Bartos confirmed that he's joined Riot Games and will be working on the company's unnamed MMO project. Cool. What's this? One country is already threatening to ban GTA 6, which would make it inaccessible to millions of gamers. Calls for a ban on GTA 6 have been issued by an international public organization focused on Russia, citing a perception of amoral content in the action-adventure series. This is a story by Matthew Schomer. If made official, a Russian ban on Grand Theft Auto 6 could cut down Rockstar Games' potential worldwide audience to the tune of more than 140 million people. Yeah, we'll see if that happens. The latest entry in Rockstar's celebrated franchise tops the list of many fans' most anticipated games of 2026. I'm looking forward to it. As soon as it comes out, I'm probably gonna grab it. So, yeah. So apparently, GTA 6 might be banned in Russia. That'd be unfortunate. I would hate to see that. Hopefully, they can handle it. Let's see. All right, I'm not seeing much else tonight, so I'll have to figure out another solution. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to play that isn't running through my HDMI input, because for some reason that keeps getting locked up while I'm trying to play. So I'll figure it out, but I'll be back in just a moment. All right, all right. So, yeah, we're gonna have to shift gears here. Tonight might be a short night. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on. I might just have too much stuff running at the same time. I probably need to go through and do a little bit of cleanup on some of the things that I have running. Like I just have so much stuff running in the background in here that I think it's causing the input to freeze up, which is unfortunate. So I do want to. There is a Bellular News video that came out recently that I do want to take a moment to review. So I think I'll hit that tonight, and then we'll call it quits. So there we go. Let's take a look. Let's see what he has to say. This is titled "PC Game is So Screwed They're Resorting to Selling Us Old GPUs."
The line must go up, and since June of 2025, the line has spiked. Now, the line you're seeing here is the average price of consumer RAM over the last 18 months, courtesy of PC Part Picker.
The average price of consumer RAM over the last 18 months. Wow, all right. Good lord.
What that means to you is basically RIP wallet or RIP computer upgrade.
Or RIP bozo. Yeah.
And all through the PC industry, and even beyond that, things are actually looking dire. Manufacturers are abandoning.
Micron announces exit from crucial consumer business. Yeah.
Consumer sales. Prices are about to spike across the board, and government-backed schemes are actually ensuring that your interests are not the ones that are driving manufacturing anymore. And that's all because in a world where all the factories are feeding the AI data center boom, well, fundamentally, PC building is fucked, and it looks like it won't get better, at least.
That's interesting. Yeah. The part of the challenge is there's suddenly just a greater demand. I mean, you know, there was a time when PCs were driving the demand and it wasn't enough to cause such a massive spike. Now there's somebody competing for those resources. Yeah, we're going to be feeling it.
Not for quite a while. In the tech world, the start of the year is meant to be the big time where people hype up what's to come, including in PC gaming, and loads of that goes down at the Consumer Electronics Show. That's where everyone is showcasing the cool new hardware, graphics, peripherals. But this year, CES was, I think, actually exposing something deeply bizarre about the state of the PC gaming industry. Because there's just not a whole lot going on for the average gamer. There really isn't. Now sure, there were plenty of interesting peripherals, folding phones, new form factors for your PC, cases, boondoggles like Razer's rather sus-feeling chatbot-powered desk companion. But if you
say that again, desktop
boondoggles like Razer's rather sus-feeling chatbot-powered
chatbot-powered desk companion. Okay, all right. I hadn't heard about this. I'm going to make a note of this to look this up after this video. I hadn't heard anything about this.
Companion. But if you were thinking about upgrading your PC, then it was not a CES for you. Now, what drives interest in PC gaming often is the hardware. And on that front, we had very little to show. AMD basically appeared to forget that they were actually producing a new CPU. Nvidia, though, were especially quiet, but at least they had some cool upgrades for PC gamers with their DLSS performance stuff, even if, yeah, their multi-frame generation tech is kind of reaching the stage where it actually might be suitable for some games. But for a lot of people, they were actually wondering, what if I just want some raw raster performance, and on that front, where is the expected 5070 Super? Where is the cheaper tech that makes use of existing chipsets in manufacturing to maybe benefit mid-range users? You know, the way it's supposed to be expensive at the start, and then the people with the most money buy the expensive thing, which then funds the R&D and the scale that allows the next thing that's cheaper? Where's that bit that benefits the consumer? You know, where competition is supposed to drive that. Well, it turns out those are coming, but they are not new. I have a quick point to make, though. You probably heard the buzz around Claude Code and Cursor. They're incredible in the right hands, but they can also be noob trap central. Personally, I've been building a lot of custom tools using Claude Code lately, like a room planner and a bunch of other things. It's genuinely fun, but That stuff can't save you from yourself if you don't actually understand what it is that you're making.
I saw a video with Jonathan Blow recently talking about this. And what he was talking about was how with the AI tools, it was really interesting. If you get to the point where you can tell the AI tool, this is here's a full description, make me this product. And if it makes that product perfectly, you're fine. If it doesn't make that product perfectly, if there's any kind of incremental change that has to happen to the code, then you're going to be spending a lot of time working with it. But a challenge that is, or something that's kind of missed, is a software developer may have made decisions that are not in the code, but decisions early on based on how they're going to manage that code. And they might keep those decisions just kind of in their mental firmware, right? Keep those decisions in place to find out, or to manage as a basis for how they're going to manage all of their code. Hold on a second. I need to fix something here. This is janky as all get out. You're not seeing, unless you're on YouTube, you're not seeing what I'm seeing, but here we go. Let's clean that mess up. There we go. That's more better. Okay. So there are decisions that you make early on about how you're going to manage your code, and you keep that in the back of your mind as you're writing. And if you're thinking about that as you go along, then you can keep yourself from running into trouble when the time comes that you want to add a new feature. And if you try to use something like Claude to write a new feature for you, but if it doesn't have pre-baked into it those decisions that you made early on, that hierarchy of decisions, or rather of constraints, then what it spits out is going to create conflicts with what you already have. I thought it was an interesting take. And it's a take that I completely understand. I won't even hint that I code anywhere like the level that Jonathan Blow is. But the spirit of what he's saying, oh yeah, I've seen that in many projects. There are decisions that I've seen projects where, like if I'm developing something, even if it's something, an e-learning project, where you go in and you see the variable structure, you see everything that people do in Storyline when they're whipping something together. It's just a mess. And I've gone in and cleaned those things up, and I've done exactly what he's talking about, where you set yourself a set of constraints, you follow those constraints, and you hold to them. And then as you're going along, as you make revisions, you might spend a little bit more time, but you save yourself so much debugging time later on. And if you do run into a problem later on, your ability to fix something is greatly accelerated because you kept yourself to the right constraints. So, yeah. So anyway, he's talking about using Claude, and I thought it was something that I found kind of interesting. That, let me check something here. Yeah, that's what I figured. That what Jonathan Blow was talking about was the problem of programming using AI, and his suggestion was interesting too, that perhaps it's not the large language models that'll get you what you need. Perhaps it's the type of AI tool that's like the one that you use for a chess game. Like you don't use a large language model for an AI for chess. But you use one that is able to take a set of constraints and then run with those. It would be fascinating if somebody could, he spent 10 years working on Order of the Falling Star? Order of the Sinking Star. That's what it is. And it would be interesting to see if somebody could spend, say, 6 months working with an AI to bake into the AI the types of constraints that he's talking about. Perhaps in the long run, you could have something that's developed that can be worked synergistically with a developer. But It could very well be that large language models aren't the way of doing it. But anyway, that was just kind of a side note based on the talk that I saw with Jonathan Blow recently. I thought it was kind of neat.
Genuinely fun, but that stuff can't save you from yourself if you don't actually understand what it is that you're making.
Yep.
And that's why today's sponsor, Boot.dev, matters more than ever. What they do is they teach back-end development. It's the kind of thing that lands you those 100K plus jobs, but they do it through a proper 12-month structured program that's structured like an RPG. It is amazing. It is designed for gamers. They've got
gamification. We see gamification all the time in my industry. And yeah, I'd be interested to see if there's anybody that's come out based on this and put boot.dev on their LinkedIn profile. So once again, mental note to self, boot.dev LinkedIn. I'll take a look at that later on. But it sounds like a great idea. So let's see how this looks.
Students who have done 33.7 million lessons. That's insane. And those lessons are using the likes of Python, TypeScript, and Go. It's all taught from the fundamentals up. And from my perspective, well, I did a BEng in computer science, mostly focused on C++ and C#, so game engine stuff. A completely different world to web dev. But I can say that Boot's teaching approach is just incalculably better and more practical than how things were done during university. So this isn't really about, say, replacing the Claude code and telling you, no, do everything by hand. No. This is about actually understanding what you're building.
Yep.
Actually understanding the real skills. And unlike those too good to be true rapid boot camps, Boot.dev is affordable, self-paced, and designed to have a full year of learning, so you can actually be a pro. And you'll get 25% off your first purchase at boot.dev/Bellular News.
All right.
You'll save the most using that on an annual sub, and if you're not happy, well, they will refund you on the spot.
I'll give that a look.
Because AMD told Tom's Hardware that they're looking to, quote, reintroduce products back into the ecosystem. That's in the form of older CPUs. And according to reputable leakers, NVIDIA is even preparing to reintroduce 2021's RTX 3060 in some markets during the first quarter of this year.
Wow.
Zen 3 CPUs, graphics cards from 2 generations ago. It seems that is the future for affordable consumer hardware right now. Long gone are the days of the 1050 Ti. Now, of course, there is new hardware as well, but my god, it seems that new hardware is going to cost you a lot of money. Asus, as an example, just told...
Let's see. After carefully reviewing market conditions, supply stability, and our commitments to product quality, and while continuing to invest in technical R&D, Asus plans to implement strategic price adjustments for certain product combinations starting at January 5th, 2026.
Retailers to expect, quote, strategic price adjustments for their products from January. Another group, CyberPower PC, has been warning of price hikes on all of...
What is this? Price changes coming December 7th due to market conditions. Recently, global RAM prices have surged by 500%, and SSD prices have risen by 100%. This has a direct impact on the cost of building gaming PCs since October 1st. As a result, CyberPower PC will begin price adjustments. We understand that with the holiday around the corner, this situation is not ideal. Wow.
Their bills, and at least one Chinese distributor told...
Power supplies and CPU coolers may be next for price increases, 6 to 10%.
The retailers to expect 6% and upward price increases for power supplies and coolers.
You know, one of the things I do like about Bellular News is when it says 6 to 10%, he says 6% and higher. It just understating something and allowing the understatement to get your point across. That's the best way to convey what it is you're trying to convey. A lot of times people will overstate or they'll focus on the 10%, right? As much as 10%, it's like 6% or higher. That's a better way. It's a more honest way of saying it.
The reason being, well, the material costs are actually climbing with demand. Because even though people are mostly talking about RAM for data centers, guess what? All those data centers need cooled. All those companies loading up in as many GPUs as they can, maybe even for their own use.
Yep.
Those also need cooled. And those are companies with a business use case, meaning they will be able to pay so much more money than, you or I who just want to use a GPU or a cooler or whatever it is to enjoy our personal hobby.
I mean, this is where companies like OnLive may have been just ahead of their time. It may be that the virtual desktop is the way to go, especially if they can figure out a way to leverage that compute for a virtual environment and get the latency low enough to make it viable. Like there are some games that you need to have pixel perfect precision and you need to have the absolute lowest latency possible. And then there are other games that's just not that necessary. First time I beat Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City was on an OnLive console. This is like 2010, 2011. It's the early days of OnLive, and there was a tiny bit of a lag. I had to make an adjustment. And to be fair, when I switched to playing it on Steam, I felt like I just had psychic superpowers for being able to anticipate what was coming. But it was possible, it was doable to do it even on OnLive.
I mean, Framework even had to stop.
The memory market is in a bad spot. We haven't changed our memory pricing, but we did have to delist standalone memory from our marketplace to head off scalpers and preserve inventory for people buying it with our DIY edition laptops.
Selling standalone RAM modules in order to preserve inventory and head off scalpers. And over in the NVIDIA front,
high-end PC gaming is in big trouble thanks to AI, and RTX 5090 price hikes are prime examples.
They're not raising prices on their cards at RRP. Well, that doesn't really matter because retailers have been driving their prices up steadily as demand has only increased. Because the best performance in PC gaming is also sometimes useful elsewhere.
But nobody will ever go after the retailers for jacking up the price. Like, it sounded like he said, maybe I misheard it, but it sounded like he said they're not cranking up their price, but the retailers are.
That doesn't really matter because retailers in order to preserve inventory and head off scalpers.
Let's hear this again.
Over in the NVIDIA front, well, they're not raising prices on their cards at RRP. Well, that doesn't really matter because retailers have been driving their prices up steadily as demand has only increased.
I get it. I get the retailers doing it, but I also get the retailers taking a short-term view rather than selling the product, at the MSRP. If they're jacking up the price, they're going to make some more money on the front end. And, if there isn't a sense of loyalty to a retailer, then I suppose they don't care. But I can tell you bad retailer decisions is what kept me from going to GameStop. I think the last time I was in GameStop was, it was the last time I went to a GameStop was prior to Deus Ex Human Revolution having their OnLive codes being taken out of the box, and then their product being sold as new. So I guess if there isn't a loyalty to your retailer, then it doesn't matter to people.
Because the best performance in PC gaming is also sometimes useful elsewhere.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the obvious thing. The very simple factor driving all of this that's been building for months. And how it is not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
Don't you love hoarding? You see, sometimes you can buy stuff that you won't even be able to use right now purely to deny it from your enemy. Let's talk about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's been going on, trying to corner the market on things. That's been going on forever. Whether it was copper, whether it was a steel market. That's been going on since time immemorial, the tulip market. So yeah, that's to be expected.
Start of December, Micron, who are the owner of the Crucial brand, well, they announced that they would no longer be a consumer business, which meant no more memory for the public to build their own computers with. They're fully going B2B, not B2C. Now, reports suggested that before they made this decision, they held approximately 20.
So, all right, in terms of their revenue rankings, Micron was ranked 3rd, and this is their DRAM supplier revenue rankings. So I don't see where that says whether or not this was B2B or B2C.
55% of total market share for DRAM. After Q2 2026,
Hmm.
none of that will be available to you, the regular.
Wow. So, but what percentage of it was available to the consumer to begin with? So it's like, are they taking off 25% of the consumer market, or is 5%, what's being pulled off? It's an interesting question.
Customer. And there's exactly one reason for this. You're not worth the time and you're not worth the money. It's not just you, it's everyone else watching this video and also me. Here's a The AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made the difficult decision to exit the crucial consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger strategic customers in fast-growing segments.
Yeah. If you can sell 1,000 at once versus 1,000 one at a time, you're going to try to sell the 1,000 at once, because if they can get that money now, they can pour that money into the next iteration and be able to get that out. And they may find themselves getting back into the consumer market. And in fact, they may be able to, if they make enough from it, they may be able to, if they can leverage the economies of scale, they might be able to get to a point where they come back into the consumer market cheaper. But that may be a few years down the road, or never.
So basically, the tech that you need isn't worth producing, because even at the inflated prices that I just showed you on PC Part Picker, well, you're still not going to pay anywhere near as much as OpenAI or NVIDIA.
Yeah.
For one example, Samsung happily increased prices for their enterprise buyers.
Samsung hikes memory chip prices by up to 60% as the shortage worsens, sources say.
30 and 60% in the last few months of 2025 alone. And demand has still not slowed. And that's because what CES did show us is that the industry is broadly all in on the generative AI pipe dream.
Yeah, of course they are. That makes perfect sense. It's the internet. It's so something I've found, I've been leaning into AI a lot more over the last few years. And part of it's because I look back at various places and points in my career where there were missed opportunities. In 1995, I went a different direction than what the entire internet was going, because I didn't see what was coming. In 2005, when YouTube dropped, I was making YouTube content pretty early on, but I stopped, pursued a different direction. Those were missed opportunities for me. And so I'm leaning hard into the AI now, because I think I agree with them. This is the future of what can be done in a variety of different industries, including my own. And I get it. I get why they're doing it. It makes sense.
Or a dream. Whatever. Time will tell. The future will tell. But what will power any of that, be it a success or a failure, will be the AI data centers, and those things need money. Now, here's a number that puts it in perspective.
OpenAI's Stargate project has recently signed an agreement with Samsung and SK Hynix for up to 900,000 wafers of DRAM per month. That figure alone would account for close to 40% of global DRAM output. Wow.
Deal between Samsung, SK Hynix, and OpenAI has 40% of the globe's production for DRAM. That's on the Stargate project. That is 40% of the globe, of our planet, of our species, everything that we have built. 40% of that is going into one deal for one customer. And we have to ask ourselves, will they immediately be able to use all of that RAM? Or is some of this just them trying to lock up as much of the market for future use as is physically possible? Because hey, when you have a deal for 40% of the globe's production, well, that deal is an asset that will surely help you raise money, because you've got a contract that will mitigate supply risk that may exist for your competitors, who maybe weren't able to lock up 40% of global supply. And this is bad for you and me. It obviously impacts pretty much every device you may use. DRAM's in a lot of things. It means the next generation of consoles, phones, even the Steam machine, they will all feel the knock-on effect of this manufacturing bottleneck. And the sad reality is that this is the system working as intended. You see, the game in
Yep.
this case got the likes of Nvidia to where they are, but it now turns out their hardware is more useful for something else. That means they will obviously be focusing on that other thing, not on us. And as time goes on and we're perhaps able to afford less RAM, we're not really able to buy graphics cards as much anymore, then maybe the likes of GeForce Now end up being the thing that is more alluring for the average customer based on affordability.
Yep.
And you know what that means? Well, that means that the power that you used to buy in a box that would be in your house, well, that is now going to be in a data center. You'll be renting it instead of owning it. Because guess what? Say you play video games in your rig, 2.5 hours a day. Well, what about all those other hours in the day? From the perspective of the people who make all the hardware that is just going to sit there in your house, well, why do they not just put that in a server and then rent the use of that to you? What that ends up doing,
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, isn't that the entirety of the software as a service model? If you're able to centralize it and if it's cheaper for the end user. Like, I remember people were hating so much on Adobe when they switched from purchasing the product to a monthly fee. But it's like, when you look at the math of that monthly fee, you were paying over $2,000 for the Creative Suite at the time. And now, let's say you're paying $600 a year. Okay. So that means that every 3 years, it was actually, I want to say it was closer to 2,400. I could be mistaken about that, but about every 3 to 4 years, you're buying another Creative Suite. Well, that's about what you were doing anyway. But this allows you to, it allows you to get continuous updates to the product. 2, it allows the company to have a more consistent revenue stream so they can provide you with more continuous updates to the product. So I don't necessarily hate on it quite so much, but I can appreciate the frustration over it. I appreciate you can lose a lot of the control, and you need, for whatever organization is owning and controlling the product that you have. Owning's the wrong word, but it's controlling the product you have. You're going to need to have some kind of trust built up to for people to be willing to accept them having it. Steam has a certain degree of that trust. Like, you don't have any of the Steam games. You download them and run them on your local machine, but they're all on the Steam side. But you trust that they're going to always be available to you, and you'll always be able to download them and run them. So if you can, instead of paying $2,000 or $3,000, if you can pay a certain amount per month or per year that's less than that, but consistently going, then it may be that it's more beneficial for you and more beneficial for them. I mean, I think it's possible to have a win-win. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but I'm saying if we go into it with an open mind, it's possible that it could work.
Basically say is it increases the power of their capital and it moves them more into a service business instead of a product business. And I would say it is likely you can juice up the margins on such a business quite a bit more. At the very least, I can say it's a business that you'd certainly have more control of.
But there's something to be said there, though. He says you can juice up the margins a lot more. That doesn't necessarily mean that the end user pays more. It just means that if you can juice up the margins by making the cost of what you're doing significantly cheaper, then the users can actually pay less, but you still end up making at least a greater margin and potentially a greater profit just by reducing that cost. So if you're removing the costs for shipping, the costs for installations, if all that's being handled on the back end, or if that's being handled by the manufacturer, if you don't have to have the costs for packaging materials, the costs for promotion, necessarily for the latest version of the product, then it could very well be that it ends up being that they make more money and it's simultaneously cheaper for the end user in the long run. But maybe not. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm not immediately against it. I'd be interested to see how it plays out.
And if we want a future where we actually own the compute that runs our games, well, we need to start thinking about this problem in those terms.
Yep.
Because right now there's a manufacturing bottleneck. There is going to continue to be one. And if
You know, this thing about owning the compute, there was a time when with Bitcoin and crypto mining, the people were buying up compute for the purpose of that. And so like there have been surges of demand before, and they're not, granted, they weren't as big as what we're seeing at these data centers. It would be interesting to see if any use of these data centers ends up going into any kind of crypto mining. Maybe not. But anyway, we'll pick back up. I lost where I was going with that.
the compute that runs our games, well, we need to start thinking about this problem in those terms. Because right now there's a manufacturing bottleneck. There is going to continue to be one. And if it's us versus them, we are certainly not going to win. The system working as intended.
Or people will just pay more for it. And there will be a greater divide, a digital divide, between the people who have the high-end products and the people who don't. And that's... my perception of this may be skewed by the fact that I don't tend to play the super high-end, super resource-intensive games. And so a lot of the games that I play, like, they'll run just fine on an older device. Some games won't, and I get that. But for a lot of the games, they will. So I don't feel as much of an emotional connection to it that a lot of people do. And I don't begrudge them that. I don't think that they're wrong for having that emotional connection. Some people like to remain more state-of-the-art than I do and want to play games that reflect that, those state-of-the-art tools.
You see, if all the good tech is being hoarded for the data centers, be it the memory, the NVIDIA chips, or any kind of significant manufacturing support, then everyone else just has to, do with whatever happens to be left. And that's maybe where the reintroduction
AMD Ryzen chief teases return of an older Zen 3 chips to fight the soaring RAM prices. That's something we're actively working on right now. Yeah. And here's the thing. If they can make those and produce them more cheaply, and if they can make them cheaper than what they were at the time they were new, there may be a case to be made for a more standardized machine at a lower cost. Maybe there'll be something that knocks the Commodore, like a good box, like maybe the Steam machine, that will be the thing that knocks the Commodore 64 off the mountaintop as the greatest number of units sold of a single machine.
of old AMD hardware in the 3060s are coming from. As an example, those are using DDR4 RAM. They're not competing for the premium enterprise kit, and that basically ensures that the PC builders have at least got something.
Yep.
Because they, by which I mean us, are not important. But of course, these companies aren't going to turn down an opportunity.
I disagree with the point that they're not important. I think sometimes, as much as I do like Bellular's videos, and they're pretty well researched, I think sometimes there's a little bit of a doomsday, a little bit of an us against them mentality. It's like, look, this is the market, what it is. We're going to try to figure out a way to make it work. And I suspect we're going to see, similar to the way we've seen the AI out of China, has been more about making things more efficient, making them cheaper when you're not censoring things. We're probably going to see, it's like, okay, the high end, the super high end stuff, yeah, it's going to these data centers, but the older generation products, we're going to figure out a way to make them less expensive to produce. If that can be done, if they can come up with a good process, we may see the overall prices for the PCs coming down, and potentially dramatically coming down. And we may get a bit of a plateau on some of the realism that we're seeing in the games. But it may be a time where game designers need to focus on things other than the absolute high-end super realistic graphics as the value proposition that they bring. I mean, there are beautiful games out there that have been around for a long time on those older applications, or on those older, on the older hardware.
To charge you some lovely inflated prices for that old tech. And as of right now, there's no sign it'll change because, as I said, the system is working as intended.
I don't know if it means it's necessarily going to be super inflated prices for the old tech, because the new tech is still going to be out there and it's still going to have a high price. They can potentially make money from the people who would have no chance of getting the new tech by selling it at a lower price and at a higher volume. And if that's something that if they can produce it cheaply enough, if they can corner that market and that group of people, I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't jump to the assumption that they're necessarily going to be coming at it from a higher price. They might, what they're probably going to try to do is maximize that relationship between the marginal cost and their revenue.
Let me explain. The South Korean government announced a $20 billion public investment in AI adoption and data center development, pushing corporate entities like Amazon and NVIDIA to start developing infrastructure.
Big tech is betting billions on South Korea's AI future. It's emerged as a magnet for major U.S. technology companies in recent months, with NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Amazon Web Services pouring billions into investments and clinching strategic partnerships.
Over in the United States, the federal government is pushing an agenda that will see AI adoption encouraged and restrictions on data center building be weakened.
It's the new space race, right? I mean, we had the space race in the 1960s. This is the new space race. This is us trying to go to the moon. And, there probably were, for certain materials back during the space race, there probably were similar things happening where certain products were hard to get. Maybe the price of automobiles went up because certain materials were harder and harder to find. I'm not sure it'd be worth researching.
Even as they limit the ability for individual states to set their own policy.
Trump signs an order blocking states from enforcing their own AI rules. Yeah, it's kind of an interstate commerce issue, right? And interstate commerce is at the federal level.
So that means that the money and the political pressure are all going in one direction. Hint, it's not the direction that is good for your freedom when it comes to your ability to access hardware like this. So what does that mean to you and me?
It's not the direction that's good for your freedom when it comes to your ability to access hardware like this. I may be misunderstanding there. The price is going to go up. There's no doubt about that. I think the question is to what degree will people be able to afford it? And you're going to have products that only the I think it's going to create a greater digital divide. You're going to see the higher end gamers, the higher end users buying these products. I don't know that necessarily it's going to be cut off. The point about your freedom being reduced because of states not being able to regulate AI, that's a weird one. I'm not sure I follow that.
In a forward-looking sense. Let's do that. 2028. Who the hell knows what the world's going to look like by then, but it is the year that is basically how far out Samsung and SK Hynix estimate this surge of demand could continue. Now, it could go even beyond that.
One of the things that could happen, I'd be interested to know what happens if as next generation chips come along, if they did end up hoarding these chips, there may be a point where they say, all right, we're buying the next gen ones, and a secondary market gets created for not necessarily, the ones that have been used may be used up, but the ones that were purchased and hoarded at, unless they're just willing to accept those going to waste, then maybe they are. But there may end up being a spike now followed by a flood of the market later on. I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things that naturally happens is as the cost of products goes up and as the margin of being able to produce those products goes up, more money gets made. And as more money gets made, more people lock in and see, oh, money can be made here. And if I can make the money here, I'm going to invest in that business. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing new competitors come in and start making competing products, and they're gonna come in and try to undercut the price. And if they can take the products, particularly the products from a few years ago, if they can come in, if a new organization can come in and undercut the price of these companies that are trying to get the older products out there, you're going to see the price come down. It's going to be a bit of a race to the bottom. I wouldn't be surprised, like if somebody wants to clip this, clip it. I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years, the conversation is about the cost of chips plummeting and the industry being in trouble because the costs have hit a race to the bottom because of overproduction. I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, yeah, there's a problem because there's a massive, massive demand. But I think the supply is going to, when the opportunity to profit off of that massive demand continues to pull the supply chain up, and I think it will, I think we're eventually going to get to a point where we overshoot. And we've seen this many times before with many different industries before. So I'm a little less doomsday about it than he is in this. But overall, it's a well-researched piece.
Well, what's interesting is they are not planning on scaling up to over-deliver.
The company stressed that it would prioritize long-term profitability. Yep. They're not planning to scale up and over-deliver. And therefore, the prices are going to go up. And when the prices go up, competitors will come into the market. I guarantee it. I guarantee in 5 years, there will be at least one additional new chip maker that is trying to get in to that market. How successful they'll be, not sure. We'll see. But I wouldn't be. I think it's almost a certainty if they're shooting for the long-term profitability, and it makes sense for them to be shooting for the long-term profitability. They're not necessarily going to ramp up production because they don't want to create an oversupply risk, but others, if another company or multiple other companies do ramp up production to maximize profitability and they create the oversupply, Samsung may have missed the bag, but it doesn't mean that the oversupply won't eventually happen. It's just going to take time, and it's going to be expensive. It'll be painful.
They're perfectly happy to keep demand where it is because, well, look at their unit economics and how good they look. And they don't want to be in a situation where a big boom, one that is perhaps being inflated by a lot of governments placing their hand in the market and putting, billions of investment into this. Well, if that dries up, they don't want to end up having invested massive amounts in some of the most expensive infrastructure on Earth. So that's why.
We're talking, all of this talk is about Korea. It's about Samsung. What about China? I mean, there will be in the next 5 years a major producer of chips, likely from China, that's going to make a lot of money, but they're also going to get the product out into the market, and it's going to stem some of the spiking that we're seeing now. It's going to come out of China.
Even though there's all this demand, it doesn't appear that they are just trying to crank up their manufacturing capacity as much as is humanly possible.
Well, and there's a precedent for them not doing that. So some people don't know the history of this, but if you go back and you look at if you want to see an interesting Supreme Court case, look up the Alcoa case, because Alcoa they faced an antitrust suit. Why? Because they doubled and redoubled their production capacity. They ramped up production capacity, and that production capacity met the demand necessary for the war. And the argument that was made against them was that, there's no way they could have predicted that the additional demand would climb up the way it did, except they did predict it and they ramped up their production capacity to match it, and they were punished for that. So I like, if you want to beat up on a company for not ramping up production, if you're not going to be permitted to gain the benefit of ramping up production, and again, like, we have a history of going after companies who ramp up production to meet extreme demands, and then they end up causing a crash in the market or a dramatic reduction in price, putting them in a monopolistic position because they're the only ones that can meet the excessive demand. We have a history of that, of punishing companies for doing that. So I don't necessarily blame them.
And that means that unless the big companies working in AI projects kind of collapse, which, you know, many industry analysts think could happen,
yep,
well, prices aren't going to come down anytime soon.
Anytime soon. That's the thing we're talking about here. Of course, they're not going to come down anytime soon. They need to go higher. They're going to go higher. And in going higher, they're going to create a, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're going to create an allure for new companies to come in and try to get that excessive profit from the market being, or from the prices being so much higher, and that will eventually bring it down. It's not good. When he says anytime soon, what's the scale we're looking at here? 5 years, 10 years? We may have a few rough years. We have, you know, a few years in the wilderness before the prices come down. But the anytime soon, I always get, like, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up anytime I hear anytime soon. I remember about 20 years ago, I won't say which politician, but a politician was making a decision. It was making a decision for how something was going to be done in the market. And all throughout the media, the thing that was said was, this will have no immediate effect. And they were right. It would have no immediate effect. But we're now many years later, and the long-term effect was certainly much better as a result of the decision that they made.
Though, do be careful what you wish for, because I'd say that an AI bubble, if it pops in a very hard fashion, could damage a lot of the broader economy.
Yep,
and
he's right about this.
Too quickly, it could turn into a lot of pain for...
I don't foresee the AI, quote, AI bubble bursting, in part because, like, I think there are a lot of small companies that we're going to have a little bit of an AI bubble burst, similar to the way in the .com era we had a lot of small companies go belly up. But I think there are a lot of use cases right now where AI is exceptionally valuable. I see it in instructional design right now. And that's not going away, even if some of the companies that are just part of the influx of AI cash, even if those end up going belly up, I don't see AI going away any more than I would have seen the internet going away as a whole, even after the .com bubble.
Regular people. So as much as there's this bit of me that kind of says overinvestment, bubbles bursting, that's kind of good. We need shit to stop. I also do think if it bursts too hard, well, how bad could it be? I suppose I think it could be a bit of a monkey's paw problem. But at least for you and me,
with DRAM prices climbing sharply and supply still constrained, Samsung and SK Hynix are prioritizing profitability. According to Hankyung, the two companies, together commanding roughly 70% of the DRAM market, signaled caution towards aggressive capacity expansion, yes, as they should, during recent IR meetings with major global investment banks. This conservative stance is fueling expectations that the current memory supercycle could stretch well past 2028. 2028, 2 years. Okay, that could happen, yeah.
Means we're looking at a few years, in the optimistic case, before hardware and upgrades are affordable again. And they may not even get affordable again. That means that they
may not even get affordable again. That's the part that I push back on a little bit. I haven't seen they've called out that it could go out into 2028. I get it. I get it. And I get that that's difficult and that'll be a problem. The never again doomsday, I have a hard time getting behind.
Our already kind of pricey hobby is now going to be out of reach for even more people. So rip you if you didn't upgrade your PC at the right moment, and frankly, rip you if you didn't buy a new Xbox on like day one, because now the prices of even the consoles are going up.
Yep.
It's no surprise that
average selling price of US video game hardware, let's see. No, wait a minute. Am I seeing this right? The average selling price, they're saying in 1995 was 150. Okay, that makes sense. In, let's see, 2009 was about 200. And we're seeing a spike since about 2020. And the number of hardware units has gone down. Yeah.
Console sales are absolutely flatlining. I guess what I'd say is if you're planning to build or do an upgrade right now, DDR4 prices are still climbing, but it's not in direct competition with the data center demand that is driving the DDR5 prices up as much.
Yep.
So obviously, if returning to the past is the thing that everybody ends up doing to fuel their gaming, well, that'll create more demand for DDR5 and the prices will keep on going up. So it doesn't really look rosy in any case. Still, it's at least an option.
AMD Ryzen's chief teases return of older... Oh yeah, we saw that earlier.
AM4 ecosystem that AMD's kind of reviving. That may be a smart play to support into this. Then there's the other massive loser to this, Valve, because they won't be immune to this production pipeline problem.
That's true.
We're able to sell the Steam Deck at, I guess, a little bit more of a loss because Steam Decks are very much used for, playing video games on Steam where they make loads of store money. They've already said that with the Steam machines, if they were to do the same pricing, then loads of businesses would just eat up loads of Steam machines because it would be way too good of a deal on a machine that can just do generalized computing.
Yep.
Which obviously doesn't support the same business model as subsidize the cost of the thing because you're going to be buying video games on Valve's store.
Yep.
That basically means that the Steam machine could be really expensive. And that's something that people already feared.
Well, what do they mean by really expensive? Like the leak said that it was going to be somewhere between $950 and $1,050. Now, there are a few things baked into that. One, I think the leak was out of Czech Republic, which has a 21% value-added tax. So if the price includes value-added tax, you can shave 20% off of that right off the rip. But if you set that aside for a moment, let's say it is $1,000. $1,000 for a solid mid-range gaming PC, not bad at all. I think that's reasonable. In fact, if it's well optimized for Steam, and if you're not dealing with stuff like what I was dealing with just earlier this evening with background processes for a bunch of other applications causing you to have performance issues, that likely won't be a problem on the Steam machine. So it may end up being okay. It may end up being better than having a comparable PC. So I think the price, people were up in arms about the $950 to $1,050. I don't think it'll be that much, but even if it is, that's a reasonable price for a mid-range PC. And it's better than a mid-range gaming PC.
It was first revealed. And since then, news about the likes of the RAM prices has essentially only got worse. And it doesn't stop at PCs. If the next-gen consoles, be it the PS6 or whatever the hell they decide to call the next Xbox, if those are being delayed or being compromised because of these shortages, then that's a generational setback for gaming hardware across the board.
Yep.
It would essentially mean that the new frontier for performance and graphics would take way longer to arrive.
It's possible, that we may see, PlayStation or Xbox go the way of like OnLive, where you get the console. It'd be interesting to see if any of them sold a cheaper version of a console that was only played online. So it's like you could spend, say, $700 for the PS6, right? Or you can play $200 for the PS6 remote, where it's a PS6, use the PS6 controller, but you play your games all streaming. If you can save that much money to do it, there may be a case to be made for that. For the end user's perspective, if you're not looking, if you don't need the super low latency, and if the streaming game can work for you, you know, it may be worthwhile for them to do that. I don't know if they would, but it's an interesting idea.
And perhaps if it does arrive, it could end up arriving in a different way, in a way that's enabled by the likes of DLSS and big data centers full of GPUs.
Yeah.
So you may get that future performance, that future visual fidelity, whatever it is you want, but you may get that in the form of something you have to rent.
Yeah. Or I think it's more likely that you would end up getting both. You'd have the option of spending a lot more money to buy the higher end machine, or you can spend less money and be able to stream your game. And I wouldn't be surprised if a large part of the market decided they wanted to do exactly that. Pay less money and then stream their game.
Maybe you don't like. I certainly don't like it.
Yep. And you would be the one to pay the higher amount.
Now, on the software side, well, devs are still going to have to optimize for what people have actually got, and that's increasingly the 3060. And that can work. Take Battlefield. It baked performance in from the start, which really paid off in PC. That approach, I think, is less of a nice to have and more of a necessity. I mean, as much as a big gamer may drop $2,000 on a top-end GPU, that same GPU could, I don't know, be bought for $5,000 by someone who's got a business use case for it, right?
Yep.
But as bad as that is, in a way, it's actually almost even worse, because a bunch of developers have been working on their games for a long-ass time.
That's true.
Many of those games will be targeting the top end of the current spectrum, right? The sorts of games that could be the crises of their day, and they are going to be massively hurt.
Yes.
Because from the inception of their project to the release of their project, a little thing will have happened regarding the affordability of the hardware required to even run their project.
I agree with that, and in that regard, I'm very sympathetic to those developers. It's an unfortunate thing, the timing of this, particularly the developers who are working on that high-end product today for, you know, something that would rely on a higher-end machine. I get it. They could run into a serious problem. They could have, you know, a problem like Crisis. It's funny that he said crisis of the day, because I remember when Crytek Engine was first coming out, I don't think a machine existed that could run it at its highest settings. And maybe they will have to bake into their games having a, you know, lower resolutions and better performance to see if to wait and let the market catch up. I could see a lot of games, if they don't bake in that performance management into their game, I could see them running into a lot of problems.
And while I like to have a message of hope, I'm going to say that unless something drastic changes here, what we're experiencing currently will probably be the new normal. Prices may...
I always dislike talking about a new normal, because the market is shifting and changing so much all the time. We've been hearing about new normals for a long time, and the new normal changes. It evolves over time.
Stabilize a little in the coming months, but it does...
It might be a new normal for a few years. And the call out about it going to 2028, yep, I get it. I get it. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I would tell people, clip this, and see where we are in 2030, 2031. I wouldn't be surprised if we reach a point where the concern is the chip makers getting out of the business because the prices are so low because it's flooded.
It doesn't seem likely that they will return to where they are.
That might be too strong of a statement. Maybe not necessarily getting out of the business, but struggling, we'll say, because they're not hitting the margins that they've been used to.
Will probably be the new normal. Prices may stabilize a little in the coming months, but it doesn't seem likely that they will return to where they are. And the painful thing...
No, they'll never return to where they are. That's that's always the nature of virtually everything. If your currency is inflating, which all of our currencies are, prices are going to go up over time, and they may, I suspect they will return to some value that inflation adjusted will be lower, but it's not going to happen right away. And it's not going to happen until a third party comes in and decides to gobble up some of those profits by making a product that competes. This is what happens. If you have a demand spike, there's going to be a lag, and then there's going to be a supply spike, and it's not going to be from the the companies that we were talking about here, Samsung. It's going to be from new companies coming in and trying to wedge their way in with a lower cost product.
Is that a new normal can be worse than the old normal, and we'll probably have no choice but just get used to that. That's at least where I think we're headed. Let me know what your analysis is, and if you want to learn about how console sales are quite flatlining to the point where a major publisher even described what they called the PS5 barrier, then watch this video next.
Yep. So I'm going to stop there, but a call out I would make. This is a good video. I recommend you go watch it. Bellular News is always good. I do think sometimes we get a kind of a doomsday view of what's going on. I don't see too many things coming out of Bellular News that are like, the world is great, and donuts are falling from the sky and bunnies are flying out from behind the bushes. There is always kind of a doomsday to it, but I think factually a lot of what's there is accurate. It's just a matter of how long of a time scale are you looking at and how much patience are you willing to have. But again, my view on this is skewed. It's dramatically skewed by the fact that I am a gamer that tends to play games that doesn't rely on the high-end machine. I have a high-end machine that I use for the purpose of animation for other things, but the games that I play a lot of puzzle games. Order of the Sinking Star is the game that I'm looking forward to more than any other game out there. That is the game I'm looking forward to. While it is beautiful, I don't know that it's necessarily as much of a resource hog as what a lot of the games are, that a lot of the mainstream games that are out there. I get it. And I am sympathetic. At the same time, I think sometimes the story we have is a little bit too doomsday. So I think I'm gonna tap out for the night. That was a great video though. I recommend going to watch it. It's Bellular News. PC gaming is so screwed they're resorting to selling us old GPUs. Give it a watch. And beyond that, I think I'm about ready to tap out for the night. This was kind of fun. We had kind of a hiccup. I was enjoying playing as the Fever. Caitlin Clark is ridiculous in that game. I was enjoying it, but I'm gonna have to figure out what was happening there that caused it to keep freezing up on that input. So I'll look into that, and I will get back to I'll probably be back on tomorrow night. I want to continue playing as my WNBA team. I'm kind of happy that it took me about a week to learn each of the. I now know the starting lineup for the Seattle Storm. Sykes, Diggins, Williams. I'm blanking. I'm blanking on the pronunciation of the last name. Nike Ogumike is who is also the in the starting lineup, but also the president of the Players Union. And Magmagor, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm picking it up. I'm picking it up quickly. I'm learning new rules to the game that I wasn't aware were even rules in basketball. So it's a good time. I'm enjoying it. I'm continuing to learn what I can. I'm the next thing I want to look at is where do I go if I want to see old WNBA games? Like if I wanted to be able to bring up the last season of the Seattle Storm, and if I wanted to watch every game of that season, and see what happens, see who got injured, what events occurred, what games did they win, what did they lose, or what did they lose and who did they lose to, and who did they beat. I think by the end of that season, I would probably have a really strong idea of the team, so that when I go to see them this season and actually go to a game, I know what I'm watching. So I'm excited about that, and I plan to be back on tomorrow night playing some more. So beyond that, have a great night. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.